Yeah.
God damn. Should we just start over? What was that? Should we
Sure.
want to keep going? That was a fucking
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah, you
right.
want to do it again.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we are digitally. We're here. Well read. Still flying independently for now, but we'll have some changes coming up soon. But for now, we're just going to kick it and talk shit. But first, I want to let y'all know that next weekend, May 20th and 21st, we're going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then Asheville, North Carolina. And you can go to TreyCrowder.com and get the tickets for that. Would be at the Bijou and in the Orange Peel, two pretty hitting venues, if I do say so myself. So
fire shows
rad.
there. Always been great shows at those two venues.
Yeah, I mean, those are like two of those that we talk about. Like, it seems like corked bat venues where like it's just the right place, right time, right people. So come out, go to TreyCrowder.com and get tickets. I just now fucking realized that I have a golf tournament the 22nd, and there's no way that we're going to win. Like, I fucking, they said it, and I was like, yeah, I got shows the 2 days before that. I'll be primed. I'll be ready to go. And like, I'm going to be.
What does that mean?
What time you start? What time you got to leave?
Yeah, I was about to say, you're going to have to drive home from Asheville on the night of the 21st, because if it starts on the 22nd, you probably got to be up that morning, don't you?
I have a 1 p.m. tee time. I'm in the later flight.
So are you driving? When are you driving down?
Getting up in the morning and getting home.
That ain't going to hit.
No,
whatever time you get up, you're getting up at 9:11.
Yes,
yeah.
Before I forget, I want to go ahead and plug Blank Magazine, which is an alternative magazine in Knoxville, has a story on us coming out. By the time this is out, it won't be quite out yet, but if you're in the Knoxville area and you read Blank, the next issue will have a story on us and the Bijou Show. Well, mostly on us.
I got something I want to talk to y'all about, at least for a bit, and see how it goes. Is that cool with you guys? Y'all have any pressing subjects you wanted to get to? Or
I had written down here to talk about in why in old movies do they always call women dames, and also JFK movie, those accents don't really hit, so nothing pressing.
But I do want to get to that because I have something to spin off the JFK accent thing. But go ahead, Trey. It's not pressing either. It can be saved for another episode.
So I've had a version of this bit for a very long time. Y'all are aware of it. I'm doing a revised version of it now. It's all about how like people think we're getting dumber, but we're not, because think of just how dumb people used to be, basically. And like, I've been thinking a lot about that because I need to expand that bit further and everything. But also, like, for a long time, I staunchly believed that. And part of it was because I felt like I had to. Like, it was something I was telling myself as a peace of mind thing. So to elaborate on what I'm saying here, like, people, even when Idiocracy came out, which is what, like 2006-ish or something? Long time ago, right? George W. Bush era, America. Idiocracy comes out. I fucking love Mike Judge. I love that movie. It's so goddamn funny. But even when it came out, and this has only gotten worse, but even when it came out, people were like, that movie's a documentary. That's not that's not a fictionalized movie. That movie's a straight up documentary, whatever. Her. And it always used to annoy me because I was like, okay, but no, it isn't. Like, and like I used to say in the bit, like, fucking 100 years ago, stupid people then couldn't even read. Now our stupid people can tweet. Like, we got plenty of dumb fucks, but we're not as dumb as they used to be. Like, even not, and you go back further than that, fucking people are, worshiping cats and sacrificing chickens and all kinds of wild shit. They was fucking dumb, right? But in recent weeks, I've heard some things like pointed out. Well, first of all, there's all the shit with like the book bannings and book burnings and all that, critical race theory and all this shit. But I've heard it like pointed out recently how like, and of course we weren't around for this. I don't remember this, but I have seen clips of it and shit in like the 70s on primetime network television. They would air like academic or philosophical debates between like Noam Chomsky and fucking Gore Vidal or whoever else, like, intellectuals of the time about like the fundamental, state of human nature or whatever. That'd be like on ABC at 8:00 or, shit like that. Shit. And big movies back then. Of course, Jaws and Star Wars were just coming along to usher in the era of the blockbuster. But, like Peter Bogdanovich and Hal Ashby movies and shit like
all
that.
The President's Men and
were like hits, know.
That was the 70s. Like that was the 70s
I know,
movies.
And so I had just been thinking lately, like, okay, clearly for a very long time, humans was going like this intellectually, right? It was going up from the dawn of man until apparently roughly 1978, I guess, right? It's like we were going up for a long time, but maybe recently now we're going back down, and I looked into it
since
earlier.
Reagan. It kind of is that.
Like, that is apparently the case, it seems. Like, at least in terms of IQ scores, which some people are like, what the fuck are IQ scores? IQ scores are bullshit or whatever. But if you're using IQ scores as a metric, only in the past couple of decades, only in the 21st century, have we started like declining, right? But I still, as far as like anti-intellectualism and shit goes, I think about like the Pilgrims, right?
Yeah.
They were Puritans. They were like fundamentalist Christians who burned women for liking numbers and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, they hated science. Like,
hated it.
So I don't know. Where are we at on that? Like, how bad is, like, it's still, as compared to like the Middle Ages or whatever, we're doing pretty good. But but even in the 70s, it's like you couldn't be gay, you couldn't hardly be black, you couldn't be fucking a woman, like, so how do you shake all that out?
I mean, I desperately need for your original version of that bit to be true, which is like, no, we're not. It's just that, but back then they couldn't even read. Now they can tweet. Like, I need that to be true. Number one, because that's what I always tell people whenever they pose this question to me. And it's funny because it usually does get posed to me when someone brings up Idiocracy. People bring up that movie a lot, like you said. Like, they'll be like, man, have you seen that lately? It's more like a documentary. And I'll basically then just like parrot your bit, but because that's also my opinion too, and like, but now though, with you putting all that out there and we've talked about recently, I don't fucking know, man. Like, I still don't think, it's hard to imagine that we're getting dumber as society. I think this is my new theory, is that dumb people, we keep dumb people alive now too long. Like, used to, it was like the mean or median idiot was this, because real stupid people would like stump their toe and not put Neosporin on it, and then they would get infected and die. And now we just have ways to keep the stupid alive. But I don't know, man. Like, it right around that Bush time, when you're talking about when Idiocracy was made, like, anti-intellectualism got probably more popular than it's ever been, because it was just like, hey, we got a president that's a fucking cowboy, man. Like, you don't have to be one of these erudite Connecticut people, which he was. You can be a dumbass, And I think that, and then with Trump, I think that that's just gotten so out of control that, like, now there are people who, their brain is capable of knowing so much, and they've decided, no, that's gay. I'm just going to not know stuff because that hits harder. You know what I mean?
I have a pretty all-encompassing theory of everything about this, actually. Okay. I think it's like a few things. First of all, I think that we're not getting that much dumber. We are testing more people for dumbness. And in the 70s, like, you got to volunteer for shit like that. And dumbasses was at least smart enough to stay their ass at home and not let it be known. That old adage about it's better to be thought a fool, silently than to speak your mind. And people have missed that one for sure.
Oh, so
I think that we have a wider net we're casting when we're doing whatever these studies are. That's my number one theory. Second issue, if we are getting dumber, is because culture helps raise you. It's not, that's not just nature. It's also nurture. And Gore Vidal versus Noam Chomsky probably did terrible ratings. And, I hate to be me, but, and I hate being me, but capitalism is going to find the most money-making thing, and it's not a debate between Gore Vidal and Noam Chomsky. It turns out it's Tucker Carlson screaming shit, about how white guys are being replaced. And so I do think that will eventually, over time, it can affect a society's overall intelligence, not just our knowledge, but actually how dumb we are. And so that's one possible theory, that our desire for entertainment and making money has actually dumbed down conversations, and the internet's a part of that too. And that's my third tenet of this whole theory of everything I've got. I think the internet is actually making people dumber, and I don't mean more ignorant. It's definitely doing that. I have no doubt about it. I actually think being on screens, getting validated with your dumb fuck opinion, saying shit like, and I saw this one today, you know that planets are fake? This is a new one. It's a new one. I think it's part of the flat earth people. Yeah, reading shit like that, saying shit like that, and getting validated by other dumb motherfuckers is actually making us dumber. And that is scary. The final thing I want to say is I did always want there to be a caveat, like a post-credit scene for Idiocracy, where we find out that part of what happened is the smart people fucked off as the culture, or they got murdered. And that was the evolutionary explanation. It was like, as the dumb people got more power, they just killed the smarties for being too smart because they hated them. And I always thought that would make the movie make way more sense.
That's what Pol Pot did. That was,
you're right.
The Cambodian genocide was literally just what you just said. So maybe that's why Mike Judge didn't want to go with it. He was like, yeah, I'd rather not have my button be inspired by the Khmer Rouge genocide. But
you said two things in there, though.
A lot of people know the movie, but everybody knows Pol Pot. I'm just saying that. And by the way, that's also how we got here. Clout and fame mean more than substance.
Yeah.
You said two things on there. There are two things in there that are, I mean, everything you just said hit for me, but two things that are worth repeating because I think you can go deeper on them is when you were talking about, they used to have the debates between Noam Chomsky and Gore Vidal. It's like you take the two intellectuals of their time and you have them debating. As close as we get to that now is when Joe Rogan interviews someone else, but Joe Rogan is the Gore Vidal in this situation, right? Which we know he's not. And then you said capitalism.
Joe Rogan's a gay political philosopher,
and we can merge those two things because number one, what happens now that didn't used to is that we see debates between people and they are propped up as this is worthwhile listening when these two people shouldn't be fucking. It's not that they shouldn't be discussing this, but it should be labeled as entertainment and speculation, not the end all be all gospel on this thing. And number two. Speaking of capitalism, we live in a time where more so we put the emphasis on someone's net worth on their level of intelligence, whereas that didn't used to be the thing. No one thought Einstein was brilliant because he had $500 million. You know what I mean? It was just, this guy's brilliant. Well, now anyone that has a shit ton of money, everyone accepts they have to be smarter than this person because they have $500 million.
You know what this has made me think about for the first time, I think, is it's like, on the right wing, right? And I know, like, no political spectrum, no side of the political spectrum is a fucking monolith or whatever. But on the right wing, it's kind of wild, I think, that you have both the, like, hardcore anti-intellectuals who won't listen to climate scientists or doctors or fucking Fauci or any of that type of shit, right? The fucking coastal elites think they're better than us, fuck university professors, right? But you also have the subset of, like bro right wingers who are real into like Jordan Peterson and fucking like these other type of, I'm doing air quotes, intellectuals, and they point to those guys as like proof for or backup for their right wing beliefs. You know what I mean? That's kind of an odd dichotomy. It's like, I don't know. They like to have, it's like a token. It's like having a token black on the conservatives. It's like, you know what I mean? Nerd. It's like token intellectuals, token nerds they can point to and be like, see, this nerd says that we're right, so obviously we're right. You know what I mean? The rest of the nerds are fucking dipshits who can shut the fuck up.
There's a guy who goes on Rogan who's known as the Daily Stoic, or his page is known as the Daily Stoic.
I know exactly who that is.
I can't remember that dude's name, but he's definitely like a guy who, like, if Rogan hadn't validated him, they would beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I think though that this is one of those other side of the coin that if you're going to talk about Rogan, I guess in an anthropological or sociological sense, you have to own up. You have to like acknowledge. It's like, yeah, these bros are actually learning about Greek philosophers because it is actually literally very much like a fraternity where a big part of some of their views of themselves is that I'm going to be the best warrior, the best man, and the smartest dude. So that's where I lean back on the first kind of point I was making. I think we're casting a wider net. I just don't think that the dummies of the dummies in the 70s were involved in these tests. I honestly, I think they like called them mongoloids and said they had something wrong with them when really it was like, that's just cousin Terry. You know what I mean? You should have been testing him too. And now that person, works at the Ford dealership and they're like, I guess we got to test this guy. He's on the school board. And that part's what's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you do with them?
Mongoloid Mike's the mayor.
Yeah. Drew, I don't know if you're aware. I found out very recently that is a racial slur. In addition,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. You thought it was just what's the word? Like a dumbass slur, a slur for dumbasses, like akin to the R word.
Yeah,
I thought it was an expired R word term like moron. That right. Because we don't use it for that, we can say now, I sincerely apologize.
I also thought the same thing. I said it in one of my car rants, and people got pretty upset because if you just think about it, I mean, you can tell it's Mongol. So they used to look at
like Mongolians.
Yes, it was people looking at people with mental disabilities or whatever and saying, God damn, they're about as bad as them Mongolians or whatever, saying they looked.
I already apologize. Why are you trying to make me laugh now? Why are you trying to do this?
But yeah,
I feel like I'm on a game show.
Is like, it's offensive on two fronts, evidently. Yeah. It's offensive in an R word type of way, but also it's like discriminatory against Mongolians.
Well, all I was trying to say,
I didn't know that either.
Well, all I was trying to say is I feel like back then they would be like, we're not testing the morons, if that's better, because obviously that's not part of this. And now the morons are on the school board and we have to test them, which is bad.
How old were you when you finally realized that was why he was called Mongo in Blazing Saddles? Because for me, it was like 5 years ago.
I was about to say, I guess when I found out that you couldn't say this word in the past 6 months, I guess, because I wouldn't have. No, that's not true. No, because I knew that I'm like you said, Drew, I thought it was an antiquated way of saying moron or nincompoop or idiot or whatever. I didn't know about the racial part of it. So I guess I would have put the Mongo character. I would have put that together a while ago.
I didn't. It was the pilot of Eastbound and Down for me because Kenny he says Mongoloid Mike. And I was like, Mongoloid, what's that? And then I looked up and I was like, oh, Mongo. That's why he's a big fucking idiot. That makes sense.
That's funny because I heard it and just assumed I knew what it meant and didn't look shit up. And now I just threw it out there. I do want to say that I like how some slurs, when they expire, they're fine. But then other slurs, when they expire, they're not fine. I think I get why. I'm not arguing with it, but that's interesting.
We had a whole episode about that probably 200 episodes ago now, but it was me trying in vain to
get the R word back.
To get the R word back, but by pointing out that it's the same thing. Idiot, moron, those are all literally the exact same thing. And science moved on and said, let the dumbasses call their dumbass buddies morons. We need a new word, right?
Right.
And everybody was fine with that. This is the first time that hasn't happened, and I just don't get why it has to be that way.
And it's the hitness word, too.
It's the hitness word, right? Yeah,
I think that's why.
It's not necessary. Let's just do what we've always done. But I guess that's a papaw mentality. But
no, it's not. Not with this one because you've got the data to back it up. Listen, people feel about that word the way they feel about it. Therefore, let's not say that or call people that. Sure. But if you go by the method that you just said, then people should not be saying idiot or moron either.
I think, let me offer a different point of view. I think, and I could be wrong about this, that a lot of people who are alive have very bad memories of being either picked on or made to go to a different classroom or whatever. And
Corey, what was that like? I mean, you could talk about that.
Yeah, I was raising my hand. Yeah, I was called a lot. Yeah.
Yes, who have strong associations with that word, whereas idiot doesn't.
I'm fine with it. I'm one
Idiot.
and I don't give a shit.
Whereas idiot doesn't get them into that negative place, and I think respecting that's fine. Personally, I mean, I also, I'll be texting it to Corey. I'm not going to lie, but I star some of the letters.
Yeah, that's fine. You star
and
the letters,
and he don't know what it means anyway. So
exactly.
Also,
retold.
Go back.
I didn't even tard to begin with. What are you talking about?
I was also thinking about how, like, as is often the case with many things because of who I am, but where I'm from, which also applies to you guys, I can sort of, like, when they talk shit about, like, coastal elites, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm also like, yeah, most of them people don't hit, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, like, or like, having moved to the coast, I've met just some straight down the fairway fucking, like, coastal elite types that, like, you talk to for 30 minutes or whatever, and you're like, oh, you're a fucking charlatan. Like, you're actually a dumbass, but you think you're better and smarter than everybody from where I'm from. Or they're like,
you know, 8 words.
Me and a guy who doesn't present as super smart or nothing, but, like, he's one of those people that's, like, still, he's, like, genuinely terrified of the South, right? Like, that's another, like, these people from the coast and shit, elites or not, that's nothing that drives me crazy. And I'm talking about white people, right?
Yeah.
Who are like, it's not that they're like, it's not just that they look down their nose at, like, the South. They're, like, afraid of it. Yeah. Like, they think
if you're black or gay, that's fine. But if you're just straight up white,
if you're a white person, though, a white liberal or whatever, shut the fuck up. But anyway, I like
clip it, put it out.
But I just, so I'm saying, like, I don't know. There should be a middle ground, I guess, is what I'm saying. Because, like, I can sympathize with where some of that seems to come from. Because, yes, I too can find these people insufferable, right? But that don't mean that they're wrong about everything. Or, like, I've talked before about my problems with my eyes, right? How I went to, like, multiple different eye doctors over the course of 10 years before I found one who could actually help me, and then they fixed my problem. All the ones before that told me, I don't know, don't hit for you, wear an eye patch, dipshit. Right? And, like, so some doctors ain't worth a fuck. I mean, in my experience, 8 out of 9 of them weren't worth a fuck. You know, there was only one that was worth a fuck. But, like, when the whole community of doctors says essentially the same thing, I'm going to listen to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, am I making sense here? Like, I can see where some of this comes from, but it's like, it's taking it way too far. Like, there should be a limit to it that these people don't enact or whatever.
Dude, speaking of doctors, we don't have to talk about this for a long time, but I do want to mention it here because it was something I wanted to bring up. Speaking of doctors, my buddy, I won't say his name, even though I don't think he would care, but my buddy is recently realized, like, hey, I'm depressed. I have depression issues and shit, and I need to get this taken care of. He went to a doctor here in the South, and this doctor, he told him, like, hey, I already, been diagnosed on this therapy and blah, 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 blah. And this fucking doctor with their degree on the wall told him that the best thing that he could do for his depression was to accept the Lord Jesus Christ into his heart.
Yeah.
So complete opposite.
They do seem happy.
Doctors. God, yeah. I mean, I guess. But, like, my thing was, like, dude, God is the one, because this person, his brain's similar to mine in that it don't hit. You know what I mean? Like, his brain, a mess. His brain, one of the worst brains has ever been. Again, everything I'm saying about him applies to me. And to me, the last person that I would accept into my life or put trust in to cure me is the motherfucker who made this brain. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't get it right the first fucking time. What's he going to do now? Like, a do-over? Like, no. Give me pills.
My mom don't cuss much. Speaking of people who have put their trust in the Lord. Man, words we can't say. So she don't cuss much, but one of the ones she says is one of my favorite, and you just literally described yourself and another person literally as this is shit for brains. You're like, his brains are shit. It's like he's got shit for brains.
That's so funny because that is one of the words that, like, I know there's a group of women like around here that, like, they never curse because of the Lord, but for some reason there are acceptable. Shit. There's variations. They can't just say shit. It has to be like shit for brains. It's fine. Or my grandmother shit fart. Well, shit fart. That was okay. Yeah. If I just said, like, I got to go take a shit, no good. But if I said, oh, shit far, I forgot to go to Sunday school, that would be okay. And there's this, like, unwritten...
You can't reference poop.
Yes,
or
there's
pee. It's pissed off, smack the piss out of you, but never I got pissed on or you smell like piss.
There is an unspoken amount of words that Christian ladies are allowed to say, even though it's a cuss word, and that's fascinating to me. Sorry, Trey. I know you don't know anything about that.
Nope, I have no idea. I mean, both.
What about when they steal your guitar?
Yeah, no, that was my mother. My grandmother bought me the guitar. Okay, just to keep it straight.
With Marlboro points.
Mama Cat, bought me the guitar that my mother then hocked. So, but getting some facts out of order. No, both Mama Cat and Meemaw currently, they cuss like Irish whores.
They cussing.
Yeah.
Mama Cat could have ran a brothel of Irish whores, and I never knew her, met her, and I've only heard 3 stories, and I know that with fiber of my being could have ran a brothel.
Meemaw's the one that christened my high school girlfriend as Bag of Shit Amber. That was Meemaw's. That was Meemaw's doing.
My greatest hope is that she has learned this fact.
Surely she's had to by now. I have to assume she's come up enough. And
I
feel for the record,
you tell the story.
I know, and
not just that your grandma said it. That's a podcast lore.
Also, the story, not just her saying
it's
that,
ain't shit James and Bag of Shit Amber.
Yeah, and it's not just Meemaw. Like, it's not just her existence. Meemaw saying that. I've also repeatedly told the story about her and thinking that Hitler killed all the Jews, right? Yeah. All of them. And all that stuff. And like, dude, she definitely, at this point, there is no doubt that it has gotten back to her because, like, I'm from such a small town, right? That, like, anytime I've ever brought up people from back home in my videos or in the podcast or something, I usually will hear from somebody that, like, they hear about it, right? I don't know who all's listening to me in Salina, but it don't matter. Whoever it is, that shit gets around. So she's had to heard of it. And if she here's this part, I'm gonna just say, and I'm not just saying this, I have felt bad about it because, she was, she's a sweet girl. All right. Mm-hmm. She was the cold-hearted bitch of my past was the college girlfriend who that has nothing to do with Bag of Shit Amber. She's the one that, there's no love lost for, but Amber was a sweet gal. She was. So I don't mean any harm by it. And I apologize.
What was it about her then that made Mama Cat decry her as
Meemaw.
Bag of shit? Meemaw. Yeah. What was it about
Meemaw
her
just, bro.
Nobody was good enough for you?
Exactly. Meemaw talks shit about everybody. Meemaw thinks Katie's a lazy bag of shit. I guarantee it. Like I guarantee she does. She thinks she knows Katie don't cook, right? She probably she hasn't said any of this to me, but I guarantee you.
Don't she?
That it's true, dude.
Don't she, unfortunately?
So Amber shouldn't take any of that personally, and that's a fact. Meemaw just be like that.
Don't she, unfortunately, I don't want to get too far into your business, but don't she, unfortunately, have some brain issues currently going on?
Meemaw has dementia now.
I thought you meant Katie.
No.
She can't cook. You know how her brain is.
Yeah. There is a reason I brought up your business. I wasn't trying to get too far, but
this predates dementia, though.
You will learn very soon how she feels about everything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I used to have that joke about it, and I've never put it on anything. I should bring it back. But, like, that to me is the scariest thing about Alzheimer's is that as my grandmother deteriorated and became who she was at her core, she was genuinely a sweet person. And it's like, that ain't going, the sweetness ain't in me. Like, I have learned to project the sweetness. So my point is, if she thinks that about Katie, I think some version of it will come out, and then you don't have to tell us on the podcast. But you got to tell me. You got to tell me privately.
Yeah, we deserve this as two people who've seen Alzheimer's firsthand. I live for this.
The only thing that could be funnier is if she looked at her at some point and in front of you said, "You know, he never deserved you, right?"
Shit, that ain't gonna happen.
That's why it'd be so much funnier
if that
happened. Oh man, god damn. Well, that put a nice button on the dumb people portion of this this podcast.
Yeah, it did. So there was. Well, all right. I'll save this for another time. Go ahead.
I had a thing that I think can lead to your thing that we talked about beforehand, Corey. Have you guys seen these videos kind of going viral of they're asking people from foreign countries? And I think there's a smooth transition here because we're talking about like stupid and perception and culture and how it like shapes. Have you seen these things going viral? People from other countries doing an American accent?
No.
So when they ask young people to do it, most of them now are not getting what they think of America as much from like Marvel movies, like our age and older are, and they're actually getting it from TikTok and TikTok videos.
Oh,
so that very strange robotic TikTok thing that almost started out, I feel like, as a parody of like, I'm on the news. That's how people talk, or they do a valley like literally. I was like, literally.
You mean like the automated voice on TikTok that's like, this is what happens when you put butter on the outside of the bread.
What I mean is people listening to that automated voice as 9-year-olds, making their own TikTok videos as 12-year-olds. I don't watch 12-year-olds do TikTok. That's not what I'm getting at. But there's like a trend now where they're like the way that newscasters have a flat American accent and that affected the way people talk. There's now what they call the TikTok accent or the TikTok affectation, which is just sort of like, hello. Now, for you today, I will be presenting what I do with my day. And it's like when you talk to other people, you don't actually speak like this. What you're doing is you know that you're on camera, so you think this is how you should talk. And I get why that happens to people because they've seen people present that way on the news, but it's strange when a 13-year-old does it. People are starting to actually just talk like that. And
like
that is
Mid-Atlantic accent.
Yes, with also the weird bouncy thing like I'm doing a presentation. So apparently young people in other countries who consume us through TikTok think that that's what we sound like, or it's all the like literally almost like the Valley thing. Valley girl thing.
The redneck hasn't got. I thought that's what you were.
Well, me and Corey have one firsthand experience with this. I'm only realizing now how antiquated of a take this was because it made all the sense in the world to me. Well, Scotland.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if Scotland would. Maybe Scotland would classify themselves as Europe.
I just couldn't remember if it was England, Scotland, or wherever. So I just
Anyway, I just always feel like they're not. You know, when I think of Europe, I think of fucking wooden shoes and bicycles and French shit and all this stuff. And the UK is more.
Scotland's that's
it hits. But anyway, we're in Scotland.
Well, they voted to remain in the EU. I'm just looking it up.
Scotland, I know, is not down with the Brexit thing and doesn't want to be part of the UK and all that. So maybe they do consider themselves very European. I don't know. So I apologize if I got that wrong. But anyway.
Tell the story.
This Lassie heard us talk. When this happened, I was like, of course, that's what she said. That makes all the sense in the world.
And it hit.
And it did hit because here's what happened. We're sitting at a table in Inverness, right? Were we in Inverness or we? Yeah, we were in Inverness. And we're talking loudly like we do. And some lassie who looks like Merda from Brave, right, is walking by. They all do, of course. We're in Scotland.
It's great.
Is that right?
But she looks, a lot of them wonderful. Do, yeah. And she looks she looked like Merida. And she's walking by. We're talking loudly. She stops. She goes, "Oh, fuck are you Yanks?" Right? And we're like, well, we are Americans, but we're from the South, so Yank is not really the preferred nomen. And she's like, "You're fucking Yanks." And we're like, "Yeah, all right, we're Yanks, whatever." And she goes, "Hey, I bet this. Hey. Giddy up, motherfucker.
She did the guns too.
Yeah, she had the gun hand up. She's like, giddy
Right.
up, motherfucker. Her name was from Nia. I'd probably just dox that poor lady because that's all actual information. I don't know if you should beep that or not because that's a real person in a real place.
It went from literal like Shrek talk to giddy up, motherfucker.
Giddy up, motherfucker.
So I don't know how
And,
old she was, but that's like a movie.
She
thing,
was
right?
about our age, right?
Right, I think our age,
30-ish.
I think our age and above, it's
35.
movies or rap music. Like
Because
that's what they
also,
think the American
remember-
accents are.
Remember when Corey gave that lighter to a Canadian chick and she said those cowboys gave me a lighter or whatever? Like America and cowboys, like
It might be Southern and cowboy too. It might be like
Right.
if you consume American movies, everyone's a weatherman or a cowboy or a black rapper.
It hit for me. I hope they continue calling us cowboys because I felt
I
really
loved
cool.
it both those times, because I'm a poozer who wears cowboy boots and everything. So, I don't
Hey.
mind it. Howdy there, well-read fans across the Skewniverse. It's your boy Trey Crowder here. Just want to take an opportunity to let you know about a couple things that I think you might think are cool. Just some things to let you know about in case you don't already know about them. I'm talking about, in particular, Weekly Skews, hosted by me and Smart Mark AG. If you're into my political musings, and I assume many of you are, well, it's all politics all the time podcast. That's what Weekly Skews is. Mark reads and knows stuff. I learn and react to stuff. We have a good time. We do the show live every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific on my social pages. But also you can get it as a podcast wherever you get your podcast from, or you can watch it on my YouTube channel. You don't have to be there live. Check it out either way. Also, if you would like to check out some of the bonus stuff I got going on, you can go to patreon.com/Trey Crowder. I got a bunch of stuff on there for my patrons. You got multiple tiers. I do news reaction videos. I learn the news of the day, react to them in real time, rant and rave, do my thing. We have interviews with other blue sheep, people like Corey, Drew, Smart Mark, my sister, you name it, all kinds of fun people, Brent Terhune. And we explore the background of my political opinions, as well as reviewing many of our country's worst politicos, all that. Plus I do audience Q&As and bonus Weekly Skews episodes, all at my Patreon. It's also just a nice way for you to support your boy. So if you'd like to check out the wares over there, go to patreon.com/Trey Crowder and do so. And then lastly, one-stop shopping for me. If you want to come see me live, which I sure would appreciate, or you want to check out me and the guys at Amazon specials, you can find all that by going to TreyCrowder.com. Last but not least, I love you like chicken. Thank you for being here and enjoying the Well-Read podcast. And we'll keep doing it if you keep listening to it, baby. See you, love you, bye.
That's like
Gotta
Spanish
know the whip.
culture. So you're fine.
That's true. No, I know. Yeah, it's one thing that really hits me. I went and bought some new boots recently at a place in LA. Guys, I'm sorry, but y'all may have to continue without me in a minute. I don't know what's going on. I've had a cold lately and I can't stop. I got problems with my throat. Anyway,
Trey's
I'm
dying.
gonna try to get through this.
Trey's got COVID-20.
I took a COVID test and it's not COVID. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that was for
It's just
19.
like,
20 is different.
Sometimes
right,
I
anyway.
forget that you can also just be different sick than COVID too. Like I'll take a COVID test and I won't have it, and I'll be like, well, I guess I'm fine. And it's like, no, you just got the flu.
100% thought it was COVID. I knew for sure until I took the test and didn't have it. I was pretty shocked. But anyway, I got a new pair of boots. I got them at a place in LA, and like they had one white kid working in there who was fresh off the bus from like Arkansas, right? Which hit for me. Me and him were the only white dudes in there. Everybody else was Mexican, because like, of course, like that country Western attire,
That's them. We stole
jeans,
it.
cowboy boots, they fucking love that shit, dude. You also you'll see
They invented the hats.
big trucks and stuff. It's usually a Mexican, and I'm saying
They actually farm. That's why. Like, and I don't mean that in a good way, but like,
yeah. But like,
the
I'm just saying,
lifestyle
like,
these dipshits in the South are pretending they have, Mexicans actually do have that lifestyle.
right, and that hits for me is really
Me too.
all I'm saying. And like, so in Los Angeles, so it's like it's a weird kind of crossover because like Los Angeles is not South adjacent at all. But there's a whole bunch of Mexicans, and a lot of the Mexicans have a lot of overlap with country boy shit or whatever. So like that, just I appreciate that is really all I wanted to say about it.
For sure, it's it's like who's appropriating who, you know, because like the big truck thing, like in Mexico. You can't have a big truck. It's like they've got smaller trucks by law or whatever. Maybe they won't sell there. I'm not sure. But put a real negative spin on it. There's like this thing. It's not funny, but it's like darkly funny.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, Nick Fuentes is arguably the most famous Proud Boy. He's the current leader, and he's Latino, but he's not.
Oh, really?
Mexican. He's Hispanic. Well, right, because like Spanish is not really brown. It is a version of white, much the way Italian is. But then obviously in America, we conflate Hispanic with Mexican because that's who we're used to speaking Spanish. And those are people of color. Well, again, about to get super dark, but like the shooter in Dallas was a white supremacist or supposedly a fascist or a white supremacist. I haven't read a lot about it. I could be wrong, but with a Latino background. That's not the point I wanted to make. The point I wanted to make is the darkly like fucked up, not funny, but funny thing is, so many people with a Latin background or whatever want to be involved in the right-wing fascist movement.
Oh yeah,
but aren't considered white enough. Like like it's not funny, but it's like it's wild that they want so bad to be a part of it. But like Fuentes would get the fuck beat out of him by Klan members.
Yeah,
and there is something like romantically, poetic, justicely funny about
that. Other guy at the top of the Proud Boys. Enrique Tarrio, I think's his name, or something like that.
Wait, that's who I was talking about. Fuentes is a totally different guy. Fuck.
But Fuentes is also a big right wing, whatever dude. But right, that's what I'm saying. It's like a thing. Yeah.
I mean, they leaned in really hard to the Hispanics for Trump thing or whatever, and like when they first started, Trump first started doing it, I was like, all right, well, it's easy just to say that because, I mean, technically there are, of course, of any demographic, you're going to have supporters in that demographic. But then I got looking into it. It was like, no, actually, he got like a pretty big chunk of the Hispanic vote. And like, I'm thinking, is it because so many of these people like and again, this is painting with a broad brush. I'm very aware that every single Mexican is not a goddamn farmer. I know this, right? Or a painter or whatever. However,
Keep going. Let's make this list.
But it would be lying to say that a fair amount of them in the South aren't. Like they are. They absolutely are. I used to work with a ton of Mexicans painting and in construction. And I'm wondering, like, this is going to sound stupid, but like for all of them, do they really believe all this stuff? Or is it that they are associating with dudes on the reg who are huge and they're just like, I don't want to get my fucking ass kicked. So like, yeah, fucking, you know what I mean? Cause like, I can see that.
Well, I was poorly trying to like connect what we were talking about of, in LA, the Cowboys are Mexican, but those clothes are Spanish. And so I was basically trying to be like, well, that's actually a European thing in the first place. So it's okay to appropriate what you think is Mexican culture if it's cowboy shit, because it's actually European. So I was kind of like half kidding, but we do need to, I think, draw a line because like, dude, everybody on earth has had fascists. Every culture, every race, every creed has had fascism inside it. So aligning with Trump to me was just like, yeah, fascism fucking hits for some people. The specifically white-centric ethno-cleansing type of fascism that the Proud Boys and Fuentes are into, it's darkly funny to me that they're, if they won that argument, their group would turn on them because their last name's Fuentes, and that's how dumb their fucking group is.
Yeah.
They'd be like, Fuentes ain't white, it's Spanish. And that's like such a stupid sentence.
But it totally makes sense because like a lot of the people like in Spain, like their ancestors were fucking colonizers. You know what I mean? So it does, I mean, it makes sense.
That's why Mexicans speak Spanish.
No, I know, but I'm saying like it totally makes sense. And like, that's just, it really sucks because that's another one of those, we were talking about earlier, like that's their token, they have their token intellectuals, but like it hits so hard for them when someone with a Spanish name is into their same shit because they can then throw it in our face, as if we're the keepers of the Spaniards or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that is also funny too. If they're like, "See, we've got a person of color," and it's just a white person with the last
it's just
name
Antonio
Fuentes.
Banderas.
Well, that happened to Antonio Banderas. You know that, right?
it
He
did.
got some kind of
Yeah.
award.
Yeah.
No, it's not that he was nominated for an Oscar one year, and it was during the Oscars So White thing. And during that time, these articles were written that said all these nominees and one person of color, Antonio Banderas. And Antonio Banderas was like, so just so you guys know, I'm not actually a person of color. And then they're like, well, goddamn, that's even worse, you know, I guess.
You're tan as fuck, dude. He's like, yeah, no, me and Mario Batali, we're technically white. You guys are just so British and German centric.
Someone writing an article should definitely know that, but like it wasn't like that long ago that I finally stopped to consider that like, oh fuck, because you know where we're from, if you speak Spanish, you Mexican, you know.
Well,
so,
I
like,
remember
dude,
when Alec Baldwin's wife called all that shit, and now like for her it was different. She was full of shit and everything. But she's like a white looking lady, right? Who like pretend, and then people started going off for like she's faking all that or whatever. And I was like, but okay, but like white people, Spanish people could be white. Like you could be a white person from Spain and fucking sound that way. Like that's not.
They got redheads.
It's like everybody's like, she ain't a goddamn Mexican. This is bullshit. You know,
that's literally what happened though.
Yeah,
she was faking it. She was faking it though.
I know that. Turns out like she was faking it. But
That's so funny.
Yeah, but the point is that like, hey, we don't know she's faking it because they can also be like, dude, I found out that Brazilians could be white because of porn. I fucking clicked on a porn one. It was like Brazilian gets her cheeks clapped, and I click on it, and it's this fucking white lady, and I was like, I'm gonna stay.
Corey's like writing emails. You guys have miscategorized this. This is actually a Pog, not a Brazilian.
Well, she definitely could have. Yeah, she could have fit both categories for sure. But I was like, wait a minute. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, yeah, duh. That's totally fine that she could be Brazilian, whatever. But like,
we all know that Louis C.K. is Mexican. Or
Tom Segura too.
Right. Yeah, Segura's Peruvian. Yeah, he's Peruvian. Yeah.
So,
not Mexican,
but in the South, that's Mexican, right? We
Mexican,
all know that. Yeah.
Circa
Spanish.
Circa like 2012-ish. I had a joke about that Mayan calendar thing. It was like the Mayan calendar ends, the world's going to end, the Mayan calendar this, the Mayans predicted this. And the joke was something along the lines of like, if these people could predict the future, how come that calendar didn't say shit about the white man showing up and giving them all those goddamn blankets?
And big oversight.
JC, y'all remember JC, comedian in Knoxville? He was in the front row one time. He was probably trying to get laid because otherwise he'd have been out back talking shit about how everybody sucks but him. But he was in the front row, and I saw him kind of like look down and look to the right and go, they were Spanish, like almost under his breath, but he said it out loud. And I was like, yeah, Spanish people are fucking white. Like, and I got a laugh out of it. But then I realized later, I was like, oh, like, but the audience often don't know that. That was like one of my first lessons of like, yeah, but you got to meet the audience where they're at, bro. You can't just assume everyone's thinking like that because they aren't.
This is post-Inquisition we're talking about here, correct?
When they gave out the blankets or when I did that?
Certainly not us.
My knowledge of the Spanish Inquisition comes solely from Monty Python and Mel Brooks, and that's it.
I feel like the Inquisition was somewhat concurrent with colonial Spain efforts. I think Spanish colonialism.
It was a colonial move. Yeah, it was in conjunction with the church. The only thing I know about it is from a chapter
Spanish
of a Dostoevsky
was,
book that is the best short story ever in my opinion.
I did not know it lasted this long. Spanish Inquisition lasted from 1478 to 1834, so pretty much the entire colonial period for Spain. The Inquisition was going that whole time. Evidently.
Yeah, they're like DNA strands, both in look and they don't work one without the other. The Inquisition was Spanish colonialism, or like, you know what I mean? It was like a wing of it. It's like setting up fucking churches. That was what they was doing. That's why everything out here is named Saint this and Saint that.
And yes, but also getting that gold,
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to say what you're saying, but I'm saying it's different.
Hey guys, it's your boy, Corey Ryan Forster. I'll be short and sweet. PartTimeFunnyman.com is where you can get bonus stuff from me. Got bonus podcasts, bonus videos, essays, stories, all sorts of cool stuff. It is $5 a month, but if you can't afford that, it's free. Either tier, you get the same stuff. It's just if you have the money to pay for it, it'd be cool if you did that. But if you don't, it's fine. You can get it for free. You can also make a one-time donation to the show on PayPal using buttercreamcorey@gmail.com. It's a really cool thing. I'm adding new cool stuff all the time. There's about to be a whole brand new podcast over there called Oh Yeah Daddy, where I exploit the fact that I am now a dad and becoming quite the cliche one. So we'll talk about cliche dad stuff. You can get it everywhere soon, but it'll be up at parttimefunnyman.com before it's up anywhere. parttimefunnyman.com. Subscribe, support me, love me, love me. For the love of God, love me. I need it. Love y'all. parttimefunnyman.com. Well, he's a part-time funny man. He does stand up when he can, but he wants to stay at home and raise his kids. So he sits behind his computer and he does this. Classy. Yeah, we need to bone up on our Spanish Inquisition, I guess.
Hey, I thought my TikTok accent thing would get you into this JFK thing, Corey.
We got derailed.
Well, no,
your JFK thing.
I want to get into that, but also I wanted to ask, and I forgot to ask, about this TikTok trend or whatever, because I don't think you mentioned it. Is it them? Are they making fun of the American accent, or are they just doing it like we would do an English accent as a bit or something? Which I guess we're making fun of it. But
so when you say this TikTok trend, so that's like a strange thing because that has like a few meanings, I think, in this story. TikTok trend can mean currently everyone's doing this dance or making this joke on TikTok. And that is a TikTok trend. I can't believe
I'm not big over there.
Yeah. Then also, I was sort of saying TikTok trend in a more academic sense where it's been around long enough for us to kind of realize, kids are sort of talking like they're putting on a video and it's become the thing. And then what I think you're also asking me about is this TikTok trend meaning the foreigners doing our accent? I don't know if that's a trend or if it's just a video that's gone viral. I'm sure it'll become a trend. Maybe it is. I don't fucking know. But the videos I saw, it was 2 of them. I do think they were making jokes and making fun of us, but I also think that like there were some good lines in there. Like one of them, this girl goes, "Oh my God, literally, I've been a vegan, but I need meat." And so like they were doing a bit, but I don't think that the bit was, we know how Americans really talk and now we're making a joke about how they sound on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
They think that's how we sound.
Right. Fuck, I get it, man. I guess like, there was a time where I thought every British person sounded like fucking Mary Poppins or Dick Van Dyke. So,
exactly,
that checks. But anyways, I was watching, I'm going back and trying to like watch all the classics that for some reason I missed. And I'd never seen JFK, the Oliver Stone movie. The reason mainly is because it's 3.5 hours long. Like every time I went to do it, I was like, I want to watch this, but I could also watch 2 diehards, you know what I mean? And I'm always going to watch 2 diehards. But I went back because like I'm a pretty big history nerd, and I think when you transform into a dad, it makes it even more so. You're like, I got to know everything about the past and World War II and all this shit. So I'm watching JFK.
It's that or become problematic. So you did the right thing.
What's about to become problem? Oh yeah, yes, it's it. Yes, you are correct, and I'm trying not to become problematic. But I do love, like, since we've been putting on airs for over a year, like I'm even more into history than I ever was. So I'm watching JFK, and I didn't know this going in, but like the whole thing takes place basically in New Orleans, and because that was the dude that like investigated it. Kevin Costner's playing. And in my brain, when I was like, I bet you. Because Kevin Costner has had a storied history of doing real bad accents, like, rugged Robin Hood, but it never mattered because he's fucking Kevin Costner. And I will tell you that ultimately it doesn't matter in this movie either. But because of that, I was like, okay, probably everybody's just going to have a neutral accent and it's going to be fine. But no, everybody in this movie, and there's a lot of people in this movie. You got Kevin Costner, you got Michael Rooker, you got fucking John Candy.
John Candy. He does it. He goes big with his.
His is the one that I really wanted to talk about, because not only was John Candy's like super, this is what I think a Southern person talks like, but he also, his character uses like 1920s Chicago.
He's like a jazzy. He's like a jazzy guy.
Yeah, he's like
doing a jazzy thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I just got such a soft spot for John Candy.
I love John Candy.
I loved that. It is silly, but like loved that.
It was my favorite.
Like, he's really going for it, dude.
He is. And I love that in any movie when I see someone going for it, even if it doesn't work, I'm like, I respect your choice here. No, listen, none of it, the only person in the movie that I was like, this accent is very believable was, of course, Laurie Metcalf, because she's like one of the most brilliant, underrated actors of all time. But my point is that like, I thought about it for 2 seconds when they all started talking, and then I stopped caring. I was like, whatever, dude. Like this, because number one, this movie, all movies back, like we still have a problem with no Southern representation, but you just sort of accept it in movies back then, because back then it was like, look, we've got these stars and they're the ones that get all the movies. So if the character talks like this, Kevin Costner's going to fucking talk like this. All right. I don't know what to tell you. That's just what's going to happen. And I didn't care, and it totally didn't take me out of the performance, but it got me to thinking about like how sometimes I give a shit and sometimes I don't. You know, like there's certain, nowadays at least, like when they cast all these people in fucking J.D. Vance's book movie or whatever, I'm like, God damn it, can you not get an actual Southerner? And then, and I know we've talked about this a lot before, but I'm like so selective on when I give a shit and when I don't. And watching JFK, I realized I don't give a shit. And maybe it's just because it was New Orleans, and I was like, that ain't my part of the South. Do your fucking thing. But like, does that bother y'all?
Different.
It is different.
I mean, well, I'm doing a whole bit about this right now. But having said that, I thought it was good fodder for a bit. It ain't keeping me up at night, but it just, pointing, like the whole thing, the bit was inspired. We talked about it on POA one time, and then I started doing a bit about it, but how it's like, representation's super important, but every Southern character is played by a fucking classically trained Shakespearean Brit or whatever. And, yeah, but dude, I'm not making my picket signs or nothing to take to the streets over it or anything. But I do think it's like kind of funny. I mean,
it's insanely funny.
Yeah. In the bit, I say I think it's like for insurance reasons, or like, it's like we can't have a bunch of real ones fucking around here.
Yeah, just like the movie The Ringer.
Yeah. Okay, that's hilarious. But do you know the background of the Banjo movie? Why is it
Deliverance? DJ wants to interview me and tell me the background for something he's wanting to do, which I'm
he's got a project. That's why I know about this.
Yeah, so, well, I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
The general thing that I want you to know that relates to this, there's like 5 things, by the way. It is genuinely one of the wildest stories I've ever heard from DJ. And, with DJ telling me, I'm getting it through the lens of space. So like, it's certainly wild. But one of the aspects is that at some point, a lot of the crew sort of began to realize, so they had non-professional crew members who were a part of basically the river team. They had to shoot those scenes on the river. So they needed people who knew how to navigate the river, right? So that's not like your typical movie crew people. Well, a lot of those people apparently kind of wised up to what was going down in terms of who was being made fun of and all that. And they did have insurance problems. Yeah. It's so fun. Like they fucked up enough things and sabotaged shit that they had insurance problems. And at the time they thought we're having insurance problems because this river's so dangerous, but they sort of found out later, no, these motherfuckers are stealing from us and sabotaging shit on purpose, and it's causing us to have insurance.
That's so funny.
How funny
I had no idea. That's so funny.
What if one of them fucked Ned Beatty's ass? Like, that'd be so hilarious. If they got,
Corey. Okay, Corey. Oh, now I don't want to get too into it. I don't want to ruin too much for Trey, but also the writer of the novel was on set the whole time, and he is apparently an insane person who
Yeah.
isn't a hillbilly, but decided after that novel got so big that he was one. And I'm not saying he tried to fuck Ned Beatty. That didn't happen. But like, he got very like into telling the director the best way to do stuff. And he did want a lot of things to be method, I think. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. That's so funny that like he thought
Just
oh,
spitballing here. Is there any way somebody could actually fuck his butt? Like
Right.
cinema,
right.
cinema verite, I believe they call it
Right. Okay.
over there
yes.
in Europe.
Right. So do that same bit, but instead of making it, Larry David spitballing here, make it that character that what's the guy's name on Blacklist?
James
Spader. The version of James Spader from The Office. Apparently, the dude
Robert
would
California.
like walk
Robert
around
California. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, he would walk around and be like, "Have you considered?" Like he had a personality disorder. It was like he sold his rights to his book, and then he was like, "Yep, I always knew this is who I was," and his whole personality changed. And since the internet didn't exist, he could get away with that.
So hold on. He's not a redneck hillbilly at all.
All right.
And then this guy writes a book that's wildly successful about redneck hillbilly banjo boys butt fucking each other. Wonderful alliteration there. And in his mind, he was like, "I'm one of them now."
All right. Here's what I'm going to say. Let's have DJ on soon when he's ready to both tell us this and plug what he's essentially trying to do is talk about Deliverance's place in the zeitgeist. So, like, I know he's interviewing you, Trey. I had a joke where I mentioned Deliverance, and I had never seen it, which blew DJ's mind, but that was sort of his point. It's such an important part of the zeitgeist to being a Southerner, even though we don't give a fuck about it.
We know everything.
So he wants to do half that, half the history of it, because it's not really been told what all wild shit went down there. And some of the dudes who worked on it still live by DJ. DJ lives where they filmed it now.
Oh,
that's what brought this on.
They filmed some of it in Silva, too. Yes, go on with the Ravenness.
Well, that's where he's at. DJ's like 20 miles from Silva.
I reference Deliverance in one of my bits right now as well, but I have seen it because my dad made sure that I saw it when I was maybe 14. Because of course he did. He's like, "You got to see this boy." It's just
he
wild.
Do a
right
lot
here.
of butthole stuff at that age.
He just
he wanted to make sure.
Broaden my horizons.
Does this do anything for you? It's fine if it does.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
God damn.
I need to go.
Okay, well, we love you. And, hey, go to TreyCrowder.com for those tickets. And also listen to me and Trey's podcast, Putting on Airs. New episodes every Friday. We just talked shit about Jared Leto at the Met Gala. So if you're into that shit, listen to last week's episode. And also check me out at parttimefunnyman.com, bonus podcast essays, all that good stuff. Drew?
Yeah, Gravy Baby is a great podcast. You should listen to it.
Hell yeah. Thank you all for listening to The Well Read Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Yawn got me. Do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.